Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a cold Wichita day. I'm Shanae, and you're with SCZ Live. Now, often when we think of Halloween, we start to think of those spooky, creepy animals that are out there. But I'm here to tell you that some of those animals aren't so spooky after all. Here in Kansas, we are blessed to have some just really magnificent animals. And we have two of those animals that we would like to highlight today during our SCZ Live. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around here so we can see our first animal right here. This is Echo, and Echo is a big brown bat. Now Echo is one of our ambassador animals here at the zoo, so Echo's job is to travel around the state with us and help teach people about how very, very cool bats are. So Echo's doing a great job right now of showing us her wings. Chiroptera is the group of mammals that bats are in, and Chiroptera actually means hand wing, because if you look at a bat, it's kind of hard to see right now. Echo's so fast, but as she moves around, she's using the tips of her wings like her thumbs. There, that was perfect. You could just see that thumb on her. So just like we have thumbs and then 4 other fingers, bats have thumbs. You can see her thumb just right in there. Right there's her thumb. You can see that thumb, and then the wing makes up the rest of her hand. The biggest difference is her hand is covered in skin, which makes it a wing that they can fly on. Now here in Kansas, we are lucky to have about 15 different kinds of bats. Most of those bats only stay with us during the warmer weather. Come wintertime, they migrate south where it's warmer. However, the big brown bat, which is what we have here, is one of the bats that stays with us year-round. So let's talk about some bat myths. 1, bats have very poor eyesight and will fly in your hair. That's just simply not the case. Bats actually can see just as well as you and me. Another one is that all bats use echolocation. Bats that eat insects, like the big brown bat here, do use echolocation. It is a sound that they can emit that bounces off an insect, comes back to them, and allows them to know where that food source is. So Echo, because she is an insect-eating bat, would use echolocation. But fruit-eating bats, like we have in our tropics building, well, they don't have to look for their food. Their fruit doesn't move very fast. It usually stays on the tree. So they can go ahead and not use echolocation. Instead, what they do is they use their excellent sense of smell. Now, Echo just did a great job of showing us her tail as well. Bats do have tails. Some are longer, some are shorter. That tail they can use for a variety of different things. I like to sometimes say it's their lunchbox. Because as an insect-eating bat is getting its food, if it, say, gets a piece of food that's really long, in flight, it can tuck its head into that tail membrane, rearrange that insect into its mouth, and allow it to eat the insect better. Now, female bats will also use that tail to help them kind of hold on to and nurture their babies for a little bit. Bats do hang upside down, and you can see Echo's feet right there, how they're specially made with those long toes to be able to hold her as she is hanging upside down. So another myth about bats is that bats are active all night. It actually depends on the bat. Echo's a big brown bat, so she is most active as the sun sets. Once it gets really dark out, you'll hardly ever see a big brown bat because they are early foragers. They are out and about before the night gets dark. That's also one of the reasons why the big brown bats are one of the main bats we see, because they're still out and active when we're out and active. Other bats that we have here in Kansas, like the hoary bat, which is the largest bat, it's about the size of your palm, of your hand. They are active late at night, so we rarely see them because they are active when we are in bed. Another myth about bats is that all bats live in caves. They don't. Many bats like to live in trees. Sometimes you'll even find them in your houses or your churches. They can squeeze into anything that is bigger than about a half an inch. So they're very good at getting in and out of places as they need to. Also, many people believe that all bats live together in large groups, and that's just also not the case. In fact, big brown bats like Echo here would generally be solitary. They would generally live by themselves unless it was breeding season or pupping season. Bats are mammals, so that they do have one live offspring usually. Sometimes bats will have two pups, but generally they just have one baby. And the females will all get together in large groups so that they can have babysitters to take care of those babies. Generally, they'll leave the babies as they go out to feed early in the evening and then come back again at nighttime to nurse those babies. They are mammals, so they do produce milk to nurse their babies and then care for them. So again, bats are a really amazing animal. If you've ever thought, ooh, yuck, bats, one of the things to know is that a big brown bat like Echo here can eat about 1,000 mosquitoes in a nighttime, technically in an hour. So if you don't like mosquitoes and those other nighttime bugs that might be bothering you, having bats around is actually an excellent way to help keep those pests away from you. So the more bats we have, the less mosquitoes we have, and I don't know about you, but the happier I am as well. So bats, again, one super cool, not so creepy Kansas native. Another not so creepy Kansas native that often surprise people is right down here below me. See if I can turn her around and get a better view of her. There we go. This is a brown tarantula. Now, tarantulas are nothing besides just really big spiders. And it often surprises people to know that we have tarantulas right here in Kansas. As a matter of fact, this particular tarantula was brought into our collection by our curator of ectotherms, who spotted her on when he was out looking for reptiles just for interest one day. Any of you guys that like to camp, you might occasionally find a tarantula under your tent. Hopefully not in your tent, but under your tent. Tarantulas, however, because of their large size, really kind of get a bad rap. Generally, they're fairly docile animals that would rather warn you that they're there or hide from you than anything else. Now, we know that this particular brown tarantula is a female because of her large size. What we see with most tarantulas is the females are at least twice as big and usually easily live twice as long. A female often won't even become reproductive until she's about 10 years of age. So a tarantula has to live a pretty long lifetime before they're actually able to have offspring of their own. When a tarantula gets upset, instead of biting you, the most normal thing that they'll do is they'll take those back legs, you can see those back legs right there, and they will kick those hairs off their abdomen. And if you look at our female tarantula here, you can kind of notice that bald spot on her abdomen. That's where she's actually taken those back legs, kicked those hairs off. The hairs then are a little bit like stinging nettles. When they get on your skin, they're itchy and they're scratchy, and they'll kind of embed into your skin a little bit, and they're kind of painful. So it's a great way for them to protect themselves without having to bite us. If they bite us, generally they don't survive. So using those guard hairs is a great way to protect themselves without actually having to worry about us quite as much. You can also see that great camouflage. If I kind of come up a little bit, you can see how quickly an animal like a tarantula could just blend in to a grassy or a rocky area here in Kansas. So this time of year, late October, with the snow going outside, generally we won't see either of these animals out. The tarantulas will go dormant. They'll find a place under a rock or a log that they can slow down and stay all winter long, where the bats will find a nice place that they can roost. Let's see if we can get Echo here. She's back up here in our corner. They'll find a place where they can roost and basically go to sleep most of the winter. If you happen to find a bat, say, in your garage or in an old barn, and it is hibernating, the best thing you can do, if possible, is absolutely to leave it be. They have stored up enough energy for the winter to survive. But if we wake them up on a regular basis, they'll run out of food, and then they won't be able to have enough energy to survive the rest of the winter. Now, folks, bats are in trouble. One of the things that we see is there is a syndrome called the white nose syndrome that attacks bats, especially during that time when they are hibernating, and it does not allow them to breathe as well. It continually wakes them up, and because they are woken up, they don't have as much of a food source to be able to survive the winter. It's amazing when she starts to crawl back in there how quickly she hides from us too, isn't it? Now, speaking of food, we do feed Echo a very special food here at the zoo. I happen to have gotten her food ready for her earlier today, and you guessed it, she's eating mealworms. But these aren't just any type of mealworms. We actually gut load these mealworms, meaning we make sure that the mealworms are fed really good stuff. So when Echo, the big brown bat, eats them, she also then gets filled with really good stuff. So this is how we keep those mealworms. Just like this, we keep them in the refrigerator so that they don't go ahead and turn into beetles. And then each day she gets about 30 mealworms each night. Now, I can tell you there's not too many animals that get more joy in their food than Echo. She acts each time we go to feed her like she has not eaten in months, which we of course know isn't the case. The great thing about the way she likes to hang and the way we can look at her is we can easily do a body condition score and we can easily weigh her. She generally weighs, about 16 to 20 grams, which is about the same weight as 3 or 4 nickels. So bats are relatively small. Now, we do have little brown bats here in Kansas as well. They're not nearly as common, and people will often ask me, what's the difference between a big brown bat and a little brown bat? And my easy answer is about 1 nickel in weight. Little brown bats are just slightly smaller. Also, little brown bats do not generally stay here in Kansas, where the big brown bats will stay here. All right, guys, well, as you're getting ready for Halloween and all the spooky out there, know that some of those animals that we think about as spooky really aren't that spooky out there. Instead, they do great resources for us by eating those insects that could otherwise bother us. Don't forget, guys, that Thursday is our last regular Facebook Live. So make sure, though, and remember that as we have fun and exciting things happen, we will go ahead and post live again. So make sure and click that you get notifications from us whenever we go live so that you don't miss our next Facebook Live. You can also always go to the zoo's YouTube channel and see any of our past Facebooks. For Mary and all those that have been with us the entire time we've been doing Facebook Live, we thank you guys so much for all your comments, all your wishes, and all the joy that we've had with you guys. And we hope leaving you with Echo, our active little bat, is a great way to end this cold Tuesday. Thanks again, and we'll see you on our last Facebook Live this Thursday at 2 o'clock.